This is John Lauder, host of The Cheap Seats. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
In 2014, Germany shocked the world by putting together one of the most talented and most dominant rosters in soccer history.
Götze! It's Mario Götze!
Argentina, they were so close, yet couldn't put it together when it most mattered. Now you've got an Argentina team that's hungry for revenge.
Messi! And Yeva couldn't stop it!
But what about England?
Pass to Rooney. Only Sturridge in the middle. There he is! Goal!
Or France?
And Sissoko! They're running riot!
Or Spain?
It's broken for Fabregas. Now it's Iniesta. This is it! That's the goal!
All 32 teams in this tournament are vying for the opportunity to hoist the World Cup trophy.
Still Javinho! Oh, he's done it!
If you want to be a part of the action at Russia 2018, you're going to need your soccer passport, the World Cup edition. At Public House Media, we are excited to launch a new soccer podcast called Your Soccer Passport World Cup Edition. Come alongside hosts and fans and guests from around the world as we bring you all the action from the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Because who knows, anything can happen in the FIFA World Cup.
What about that? It's John Brooks!
So come on, grab your soccer passport and join us for all the action from Russia 2018.
A sensational volley!
Welcome to Your Soccer Passport, presented by Public House Media. I'm Marc Serber alongside the Peruvian powerhouse, Luis Burranca. And Luis, it's the eve of the World Cup. Exciting times, as tonight we will be previewing Group H, which contains Colombia, Japan, Poland, and Senegal. And some are calling this the most wide-open group. Do you agree?
Hi, Mark, and how to everyone in Public House Media and Your Soccer Passport. And, well, thanks. First of all, thank you for the awesome introduction. I never heard you like this before. It must be, first of all, the World Cup anxiety, and so as I have. But first of all, I want to disagree with you in that, because it might not be the wide open group, but it can be the most physical one. You have Poland, which has one hell of a killer like Robert Lewandowski. You have Colombia that can be captained by James Rodriguez and Radamel Falcao, and then you have also a very experimented Japan that has many talents that you can rely on, such as Okazaki, such as Onda, well, who's a veteran already. And you have also a great another team that can be a surprise, such as Senegal. Let's remember that Senegal was one of the surprises back in 2002. So now they can make it once again, and they have one member, which in my opinion is conforms one of the most lethal offensive trials in the world. That can be the Liverpool one, which is Sadio Mane.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about with this group, and let's start with Colombia. You know, they had a rough run in qualifying for the World Cup, stumbled through it, but then they had that impressive 3-2 victory versus France when they were down 2-0 and came back to win on French soil, but followed that up heading into the World Cup with 2 0-0 draws. So my question is for you, will we see the same Colombian team that we did 4 years ago, or have these results going into this World Cup been pause for concern?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Colombia, and I had the chance to see him many times, is a team that can complicate you if they want to. We had to suffer them twice, once in Barranquilla that Peru lost 2-0. Well, in a very heated match, not just because also of the weather, but what the team couldn't bring through that time. And also during the second match that was here in Lima, we were about to get out of the World Cup when Colombia was winning after one childish mistake of David Ospina puts Peru in the playoffs. But that doesn't take out the fact that Colombia is a team that can complicate you, even when your players have the advantage in numbers and in physicality. I can see that because they have such as great talent in the back, not just with James Rodriguez or Radamel Falcao. They have a great defensive midfielder such as Carlos Sanchez, who's in Fiorentina. You have a very creative and fast right wing like Juan Guillermo Cuadrado. You have a great goalkeeper that can have also mistakes like David Ospina. David Ospina is one of the most human goalkeepers I ever saw, because he still has that quality that makes him superior to others. And I think Colombia has one school that can be compared with Brazil. 4 years ago, I was always saying that after Brazil, the Brazilian school, which is the very short touch of the ball and very fast game, can be compared with the Colombian one, which is the same classy and style that they have. So they still practice that kind of soccer, and I still admire them for that. Although they are not coming with the best they have like 4 years ago. I think they're on a lower level.
Well, they're on a lower level, but the difference is that this time they do have Falcao, as you mentioned, who obviously missed the last tournament with an ACL injury. And the question is, everybody said, they're going to be so lethal with Falcao and James Rodriguez together, but they haven't really seemed to gel. Do you think that they can get on the same page in this tournament and wreak havoc on that forward line?
Well, let me tell you a story about it. I don't know if you heard this story, but in 1992, Brazil had one hell of a team. Probably one of the best ever that never won a World Cup. They had Zico, they had Socrates, they had Jairzinho, I think so, and they had but they missed one player that was their forward, Careca. Not the Peruvian coach, but the Brazilian one.
Oh, I remember that Careca. Scored some beautiful goals in 1990.
The central forward who was on his best level, and he has also a same injury that puts him out of the World Cup. 4 years later, in Mexico, 1986, he is not the same. 4 years ago, in my opinion, Radamel Falcao was probably the best central forward in the world, in the entire world, superior to Higuaín, superior to Benzema, superior to even Luis Suarez. I truly believe that he had what it takes. Not far as now. He's still a great captain. He's still a great commander. He's the voice of the manager in the field. But I don't think he's the killer that he was 4 years ago. So many players passed him within the years, and it is evident that obviously injuries can change you. Whether the gravity is Radamel Falcao is one of those cases. He's still a great central forward. He's still a great guy, a great player. But I don't see him as I used to see him 4 years ago. He was a killer. He was an assassin in being a central forward. Now he's on the line between being a good player and being a superior player. it's something a similar story to Gareca back in 1982.
Well, just to add to that 1982 story, funnily enough, Brazil also had a player on that team named Falcao. So just wanted to throw that in there. But Luis, we've got to move on to Japan. And I have to ask, other than Kagawa, Honda, and Nagatomo, who else should we be looking out for?
Leicester City Okazaki.
Oh, of
definitely.
Course.
Yeah, he was one of the members of that legendary campaign in 2015, 2016 that they even had to end up celebrating in Jamie Vardy's place. And let's see how he can be a great companion with Kagawa and Honda, because they have this inverted three trio, this three guy trio in the attack zone. Keisuke Honda, who has now been experiencing stuff in Mexico, alongside Shinji Kagawa, who's a great guy in Borussia Dortmund. Well, a main symbol of Borussia Dortmund. He never wanted to leave that place because he always felt like Germany was his second house. He learned a lot about the German soccer school, and you have Okazaki, who's a great central forward. He can be such a good central forward as a great companion forward. We talked about this stuff of the companion forwards, such as Messi or Cavani, that are not central forwards at their total place, but they can do great stuff and even have more being more great starring that can have than many of the central forwards that usually start in the lineup.
The one thing that worries me about this team, Luis, is, as you rightly mentioned, they're very good and very creative in the midfield and up top, but their defense leaked goals throughout qualifying. Does this Japan team have enough in its locker, especially at the back, to advance out of this group, considering the competition they're facing when they go up against the likes of a Sadio Mane or a Robert Lewandowski?
Well, I don't want to be a bad guy right now, but
go for
that's
it.
The main reason. That's the main reason why, in my opinion, Japan can end up in the group as last. They don't have great work defense at all. They have been working always, and this is a story that comes since 2010. Japan is working always at their offensive, in the offensive zone, and they didn't have the time to work in more defensive style. They were always on the attack. They always do train just to make the perfect Asian campaign in the qualifiers. In the World Cup, you don't get to see them that exposure that they have in the Asian qualifier. The likes of Jens Shoji or Tomoya Ugaji are not very heavy enough to contain the players you mentioned: James, Falcao, Sadio Mane, Robert Lewandowski. They're fast, they're lethal, and they're quickly and deadly for every single defense member.
Gotcha. I would agree that Japan's going to have a tough time getting out of this group for that exact reason. I'm Marc Serber, he's Luis Burranca, and we are talking Group H. A reminder that you can find this preview and all previews on the Public House Media website at thephmedia.com. We're halfway through this group preview, and we will move on to Poland. And Robert Lewandowski had 16 of the squad's 28 goals in qualifying. I'm not that great at math, but I know that's over 50%. If he's not at his very best, Luis, who else can step up for this side?
Well, first of all, Poland has this big lowdown with Gleek injury. He couldn't make it. He couldn't make it to the World Cup due to a shoulder injury. And in my opinion, he was the second best one in Poland after Lewandowski. The Polish team is suffering a lot without this great player, but they didn't show it too much because they had such as easy matches. It's not a rude comment, but they had very easy matches through the last weeks, and they had the opportunity to build the team without Gleek and to make a name for themselves in the World Cup. They have also a vendetta within themselves. Let's remember that in the 80s they were one of the most lethal teams in the World Cup. They had such an offensive power of defense and an offensive zone, and now they are coming with everything they got. I always said that people like Jakub Błaszczykowski or Grzegorz Krychowiak or even this new guy in Napoli, Piotr Zielinski, are making a name for themselves. I like this guy. Now, answering to your question, I like this guy Piotr Zielinski because being a member of that Napoli team, that Napoli squad, that they were within an inch to take off Juventus title away. Let's face it, Juventus is being the dictator of the Serie A in Italy, winning 7 titles in a row. This Napoli squad with Zielinski as their star was the team that was almost within an inch to take them away their title.
And as somebody who's not a Juventus fan, I would have loved to have seen them knocked off their perch, and I was hoping so much that Napoli could get the job done, but they faltered right at the end. But the question I have to ask you about Poland, Luis, is you talked about Gleek missing, and you did say that, within those games it was easy. They had a chance to build up their defense, but the question remains is, do they have enough strength at the back without him to get the job done?
Well, they have this experienced Lukas Piszczek, who let's remind, he's at Borussia Dortmund, and he conformed once this great right side that was very lethal in Borussia Dortmund and got into the final of the UEFA Champions League back in 2013. You had Lukas Piszczek back in the right back. Then you had a right wing like Jakub Błaszczykowski and Robert Lewandowski that was attacking through the right side. Now, obviously, they're over their 30s, more experienced. They are not in their 20s anymore, but they still have the experience about that. And besides, this is a World Cup. This is like a new beginning for them. And I truly believe that they can do a hell of a role in the World Cup if they cure the amnesia that they suffered 5 years ago in the Champions League. Obviously, they lost to Bayern Munich because they had the most vertical team, very solid team, more physical team. But they have everything they need to become once again a very respected team. Well, they are already a respected team, but they can make a great World Cup if they recover their memory of that golden era 4 years ago.
So it seems to me like you, in your mind, have Poland topping this group. How does Poland not only get out of this group, how far do you see them going in this tournament?
Well, I get to see Poland getting out of the group, but not of the leading team. I see suffering a little bit because they haven't been working as we talked about it in their back zone, in their defensive zone. It's still very. It's still. I see them very. I still see it very innocent. They had many easy matches, and I couldn't get to see their defensive line in action as as I wanted, because I saw this Poland being worked already in the offensive line, within the line of Karol Linetti or Krychowiak or Blaszczykowski. I haven't seen the lights of the old Lucas Piszczek once again. I want to see that guy back. He has a great companion in the on the left zone. That's Artur Jetzerczyk, and I want to get to see as I said, the old Piszczek once again. He's been very innocent through these last years, and that's the reason why even not just Poland, but Borussia Dortmund was suffering a lot without titles.
So you think Poland will struggle, but ultimately get out of the group?
Yeah,
all right.
I agree.
So we go to Senegal, the final team in this Group H preview, and gotta ask you, they're a very fun team to watch, but they haven't looked all that great in their recent friendlies. And once again, the argument can be made, how much stock do you actually put in these friendlies before the World Cup? But if Sadio Mane is locked down by other teams, does Senegal have enough attacking talent to get out of this group?
First of all, Senegal is a team that makes me a little bit angry, because they could have the best attacking line in the entire African section, because let's remind that 5-6 years ago we had this duo called the Papi Demba duo, Papi Cisse and Dembaba, and these two guys were leading Newcastle United, great team, great offensive line. They did everything together. They were close friends, and they were also in Senegal. I think they're not now on their 30s, and they're still playing. But they have a story, a very similar story, such as this Colombian guy Jackson Martinez, who's already retired from soccer. They put their heads in other stuff, not sport stuff, but some other life things that made them lost their way into a great soccer career. That's the thing of Senegal that makes me angry, that they couldn't have more that they have right now. Sadio Mane is their greatest player. If you get to annul him, maybe the Senegals can change their game up for worst. They have this other guy, Mbaye Niang, who has experience in the Italian soccer league, and but he still does not complement with Mane like Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino does in Liverpool.
And so what should we be looking for from this Senegal team? Will everything be played through Sadio Mane going forward?
No, let's not watch just Sadio Mane. They have also another Napoli guy like Kalidou Koulibaly. This is another member of that Napoli, as we talked, that almost takes the title from Juventus, and they have also this great player like Cheikhou Kouyaté. For me, is one of a talent that's still in time to become one of the greatest in their squad. Not just as an offensive guy, because he plays as typical number 10, but he can play also in the defensive midfielding section, and I want to get to know what he still can do. He has a past in the Belgian league. He did it great. Now he's in West Ham, and let's check out what he can do. For me, Senegal can take away Poland's qualification to the knockout stage.
Wow. Well, that's a bold prediction. And speaking of predictions, that's exactly the time it is. So, Luis, 1 through 4, how does this group shape out when all is said and done at the end of match day 3?
Well, as things they are, I can see Colombia leading the team. Repeating a campaign that they did 4 years ago, with Falcao not in his best shape, at his greatest of the shapes, but I can see them leading the team. Then Poland after them, struggling as you said it, and then the fight ends up with Senegal at the third place, and Japan at the last. It's not a prediction. It's something that can come to my mind.
And you talked about how Falcao isn't the player he is. Let's say something extraordinary happens and he hits fire and he turns to the form that he was in 4 years ago, and he begins to link up with James Rodriguez the way everybody has been dreaming of going into that World Cup 4 years ago. How far could this Colombian team possibly go in the tournament if they are firing on all cylinders?
First of all, looking for a vendetta against Brazil. You know, that episode 4 years ago, that David Luiz's goal that takes away all the Colombian dream. You know, I was betting for Colombia in that World Cup. I wanted Brazil to get out from that World Cup so much after they had the 7-1 episode. Before they had the 7-1 episode, I wanted Colombia to win that World Cup. Not to win the World Cup, but even get into a final maybe. I saw this great team that had this magic touching the ball, passing the ball, doing stuff that Brazil was supposed to do. They didn't play that way 4 years ago. Now they do. But we're not talking about Brazil. We're talking about Colombia. Colombia was playing that same way, and they are still playing with some sparks of that campaign. But let's face it, they don't have Teófilo Gutiérrez anymore. They don't have Jackson Martinez anymore. They still have Falcao, who's back already. I want to see him once again become the monster he was 4 years ago. You know, the 2014 qualifier campaign of Colombia was one of the greatest I ever saw. It impressed me so much that I even wanted to say that this Colombian generation was even better than the 90s generation, lead by Jose Valderrama, Carlos Valderrama, Tomás Rincón, Faustino Asprilla. All those guys, for me, were overpassed by this generation. Not young, but this generation that is still competing right now.
Well, I hope that we can see that Colombia team get back to its glory, because like you said, when they play well, it certainly is a thing of beauty, like watching poetry in motion. Luis, great work as always. It's such a pleasure to have you here on Your Soccer Passport. And just wondering, where can we find you on social media?
Well, guys, you can find me on Twitter, Luis Burranca. And, for all the Spanish speakers, we're on the Digital, in the radio program Sentidos Deportivos, every time at every single day from Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. CT time.
Luis, such a pleasure, and thank you everybody for joining us. Reminder once again to subscribe to Your Soccer Passport. You can find it at thepublicmediahouse.com or on Apple Podcasts, and please leave a review. Luis, thank you so much. Enjoy the World Cup. It starts today, actually, now at the time of recording. We are on the day of the World Cup. 4 long years have finally passed, and we are back this time, kicking off the World Cup in Russia. This was your Group H preview. Thank you for joining us, everybody, and have a wonderful tournament.